I just gained the Alpine on a trail that I've always wanted to visit before. There's a pass behind me that I'd love to go up and check out, but the forecast was pretty bad for today. They were calling for a lot of rain. It turned into quite a bit of snow right here. So there's about 20 centimeters of snow, my guess, 15 to 20 for sure. And my plan is to camp out here. I've been walking in the snow for quite a long time, about 3 hours now. I did about 7K, nothing crazy. I feel my hands getting cold right now. My legs are completely soaked because I've been breaking trail and brushing up against a bunch of trees. I figured it would be a good opportunity to go over all of the little tricks and little gear changes and adjustments that I use when it's gonna be shoulder season and you can get a mixed bag of rain, snow, cold temperatures. I'm not gonna go through this in order of what is kind of nice. I'm gonna go through it in order of what I have to do. First things first, I wanna make sure that I don't get much colder. So I was generating quite a lot of body heat hiking up here, so I was fine, but you know, the moment you stop moving, things cool down pretty quick. So the bottom of my pants are completely covered in snow and kind of frozen up. If I take my pants off, they're just gonna freeze. By getting my rain pants on over my pants, it'll kind of keep some warmth in there, and I can already feel that warming up. My rain shell, you might be tempted to put on your puffy or your insulation jacket first. If I put on my insulation layer, so my puffy down jacket, it's just gonna get completely soaked, especially as I warm up and all of that moisture from my layers starts to evaporate. It'll fill up all the down and it'll get soaked. All right, so I'm already starting to feel better. These are my clown gloves. That's an Andrew Skirka special. It's not terribly cold out, just that I'm soaked. So that's the main problem right now, is that I'm so wet. My fingers are pretty numb, so gotta get those back to life. I think this spot will be pretty good to set up to camp. A little bit sheltered once I get down in there, and then I have water that's flowing right on a little stream right here. But I think it should be okay here once I get all settled in. All right, so I got my hands warmed up. I've cleared out a spot for the tent, and that's the next thing. And definitely this time of year, I don't think it's the right time of year for a single wall shelter that has a built-in bug net. So on this kind of trip, I'm using the X-Mid Solid. This is the version of the X-Mid that doesn't have much bug netting. It's got a lot of solid nylon panel. There's not enough snow to press it down to camp on, so I've just moved it out of the way and kind of leveled a spot where I think I'll be able to get pretty nicely set up so I can sleep on a level spot. Definitely got a chill coming on, so I want to get this set up pretty quickly. I brought 2 snow stakes. I wasn't really planning to be winter camp. I put a snow stake there. Snow stake at that end too. I'm using one trekking pole and one of the Durston Z-Flick poles. I really like these, but they don't have much surface area, so the poles dig into the ground quite a bit sometimes. It's just a little thing to keep in mind. See that? It's dug in pretty far. Not bad for throwing it together like that. Next up is the sleeping gear. Cooler than I had anticipated, but that could either just be because I'm so damp or because it's actually cold out. Hopefully that adds a bit of warmth. So down jacket. I didn't bring my winter sleeping pad. I brought the X-Lite, which is 3 season plus, but this is gonna be pretty much winter camping, so we'll see. So I've got the new little Flextail pump, so that's pretty nice because the Flextail pump is just doing its thing while I can do other stuff. Tent set up, sleeping pads inflating. I've got all my layers on. I'm definitely feeling warmer now that I've got my down jacket on. This isn't a full winter down jacket. This is kind of a -5, -10 degree jacket. Definitely just below freezing, which is perfect. Got my clown gloves on, so I just have a little liner glove underneath. Still got really good dexterity, which is nice because having to take your gloves off to do stuff is a pain. And these keep your liner gloves completely dry. So rain pants on, rain jacket on, kept all of my wet clothes on because I want them to dry, and the only way that they're gonna dry is by staying warm. So if I take them off, they're just gonna freeze solid, and then I'm gonna be in trouble tomorrow. So that's my sleeping pads inflated. Last thing is sleeping bag. Guessing it's closer to 7:30 now. Dark at 8. All set up. So that took, you know, about an hour, but I spent a good amount of time warming my hands up. My hands are perfect right now. Next thing, I'm gonna warm up some water and get going with that. Something else that I changed is my cooking system. So normally, this kind of weather, my go-to stove is the MSR WinPro, which is a remote canister stove that you can invert. But whenever I talk about that stove, someone says, what about the reactor? So I don't have a reactor. I got my hands on a Windburner, which is kind of an adapted reactor. It's an MSR stove, and apparently they work really well in cold weather. So I'm gonna find out. This is a little bit trial by fire. I was expecting temperatures around 0. This is maybe a little bit colder than 0, so we'll see. I'm not needing to melt snow because I was pretty sure that there would be flowing water around. I've never used this stove on a trip before. The snow's dying down, but it's getting dark. That actually boiled pretty quick. Happy about that. In terms of shelter, you know, you can get by with a lot of different shelters, but I think you either want it, for me, I'm either gonna use something like the X-Mid, the solid version, or even some kind of pyramid or the X-Mid without the inner. You know, just because you don't need mosquito nets. There's no bugs right now. That's not what you're dealing with. So you may as well lighten the load if you can. But having that sort of solid nylon panels will make maybe a slightly warmer shelter and maybe keep some of that snow drift out. The stove, you know, I'm actually pretty impressed so far. Normally, if I was using something like a typical upright canister stove, it would have just died down and been really slow. The Windburner seems to be working great so far. Another pretty important thing, something else that I forgot to mention, at this time of year, I don't use something like a smart water bottle. So the smart water bottle just is too hard to pour in, and that's the main reason, is that I want something with a big opening that I can scoop water without getting my hands wet, and that I can also pour boiling water into, 1 liter, and I have a ½ liter bottle also. Those are pretty much my winter camping bottles, but using gear that's a little bit more aimed towards winter will make a big difference. I came up here last night and it was completely clouded over, getting dark, and basically a snowstorm. And today it's just a different world.